We follow one of France. We run, we win. This is your friend James. The United States of America First Amendment affords freedom of speech and freedom of religion, which means the government, nor state, nor county, nor city can interfere with religious, anything. You can't mess with religion at all. Also, the freedom of speech allows for the free dissemination of information, which also means false information. This video isn't false information, but I wanted to give you the concept of why I'm putting this on here. Is this video is not for the group of people that once that person, like this person who said once they find out scientifically that God exists, they still won't believe in him because, they want to be God. There's certain groups of people that, they just won't believe even if, because they want to be in charge, they want to be God in their life. This is for people who want to understand religion, specifically Christianity. This is a particular view of atheism from Christianity. So if you want to understand how Christians see atheism, how in general, one of the ways Christianity sees atheism, and especially you'll be able to understand why, if you really want to understand. If you don't, then don't waste your time with the video. Don't waste time thumbs downing. If you don't want to understand, because there are people who are insecure with Christianity. They're insecure with creationism. They're just insecure because it shakes up their reality. A humble person looks for absolute truth regardless if it shakes up their reality or not. Then of course you have wicked people like the Hitler's propaganda person, ministries of propaganda, things like that, where they just don't care. They want to change society, so they're just wicked. So they'll tell a lie and keep perpetrating a lie. They'll twist things, and they just got groups of liars out there. So Christians, you have to know that. People, of anybody watching this, of any particular religion or non-religion, so-called, according to Christianity, but you have to understand that there are people out there who will flat out lie to you regardless. I remember hearing this thing where they said they had some animals, trying on a tree, and they actually glued the animals to the tree to pretend that whatever they were trying to push was true, but in all actuality it was staged. And there was something else too, where an artist was drawing the development process of a particular animal or particular animals and humans, and the person actually twisted it so it looked like it in the particular textbook they were doing, that they were similar when in fact they weren't. So that's just a prerequisite to why I'm writing the video, is so you can understand one of the Christian perspectives of how Christianity sees evolution. So I finally asked God what he thought about evolution. So this is what I got. God does not use evolution at all. He changes things suddenly. Genesis chapter 1, God said, let there be, and there was. The prophets, how Jesus and the subsequent apostles worked, it was all suddenly. Within 24 hours, the situation changed. Whether healing, prosperity, even Abraham and Sarah, within a year of the thing, it actually changed, because obviously how long did it take Sarah to get pregnant and find out she was pregnant? Within 24 hours it changed. Evolution is therefore, this is a Christian perspective. Evolution therefore is, one of the Christian perspectives, therefore is, I'll say, well, God told me. Seriously. Evolution is the great human pride. They can change themselves. It is the no God complex. This is how Christianity views atheism. They can change themselves. It is the great human pride, the no God complex. Was evident. Well, you see the concept. They talk about evolution in computers, cars, flight, when you watch certain videos. I enjoy watching videos about how things change. They use the concept of evolution, and where God is conspicuously not included. Through trial and error, things change. They're doing this, they're testing, whatever. Some people die during the study of medicine. while perfecting car safety, even discovering certain drugs are fatal years later. I remember asbestos, the installation thing. We even know about cocaine, opium, morphine. Dr. Lillian B. Yeomans was delivered from, being addicted to morphine because they used it, but they didn't know, that it was actually what it would actually do to people. All of this is mankind directing their own destiny, leaving God out of the process. And that is what evolution, that's the concept of evolution. The concept is things are made. We made ourselves, not God. The universe by itself, the universe undirected process or whatever, is making changes in itself so it can survive and things like that. So, according to Christianity, evolution is simply a cloak for self-God. The Bible says he has made us and not we ourselves. They hide behind evolution and atheism to be like God. This is the concept. This is what it is, the no God complex. It is a cloak for self-God. It's a cloak for we can do whatever we want to do. There is no moral universe or standing. Society decides how society will be. If we can change society to agree with us, we can manipulate groups of people into doing what we want them to do. And in the end, they talk about society, but it's always someone at the top. Hitler did have his propaganda ministry person running. He didn't have, it wasn't called propaganda ministry, but it was his thing. There's another country I know of that uses that. But this propaganda man who's recorded about telling lies, the little people at the top are directing society. The people who are curating the news on your little app, they're directing society. They are being like God, changing society and what they want so they can do what they want to do. But the whole concept behind evolution and atheism is simply to be like God. You remove God out of the equation, then humanity, the universe, is God. The source can do whatever they want to. Satan did this. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. We thank the Lord for God creating man in the image of God, but God is still the one who connects life to the planet and to all. He gives the breath of life to all the creatures. The book of Job says if you take your breath back, everything dies. So this God complex, I will be like God. This no God complex, God, self-God complex. This is how Christianity sees atheism. So it's not just some random scientific thing. It is a direct affront to what people believe is the source of all life. It's not just something trivial. Like the man said, if they found out that atheism was scientifically true or scientifically false, what would they do with it? And some said, regardless, if God was proven that God was to exist scientifically, regardless, they would still not believe in God because it has nothing to do with God. It's basically that group of people, certain group, does not want to be subject to anything. They want to do whatever they want to, which means they want to do to you whatever they want to, because if there is no God, then they're not responsible if they slaughter people. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Isaiah 14:14 was how Satan got kicked out of heaven. I'll be like the Most High. Psalm 103, know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us and not we ourselves. Atheism's already written inside the Bible. The concept, we are God, we evolve and go to our next level. And, that's evolution. We made ourselves. Timothy, the Bible says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science so falsely called. This was written to the church of Laodicea. Revelation 14-22 is also the concept. First Timothy was written to, but also this concept of oppositions of science falsely so called. Pastor Gary at Livingstone Church, these are not related. This is not an endorsement, whatever. He didn't tell me to do this. He says there is true that there are a lot of scientists who are Christians who don't believe in evolution. There are a lot of scientists who aren't Christians who don't believe in evolution. There are Christians who are scientists who do believe in evolution, and there are non-Christian scientists who do believe in evolution. See, oppositions of science. See, you got oppositions of science. Daniel, the book of Daniel talks about they knew science. Daniel was in the Babylonian Empire, the Hanging Gardens, that's where that came from. They were not ignorant of science. Moses grew up like a prince in Egypt. He was not ignorant of science. Why did he choose to follow the God of Israel? Why? Because he saw that was more powerful, and that's what I remember. I'll end with one of the things I thought about was they said when the scientists get to the top of the mountain of knowledge, atop it already sitting is the theologians. Why? Because we are dealing with God versus no God. If there is no God, then you have the no God. If there is no God, then there's no one you're responsible to. You can really do it yourself. This is quite prevalent and evident in the gender question that people have. If we were to fully trust science, then the chromosome, gender designations, and bone structure would be the final say concerning someone's gender. See, the concept of no God complex, that supersedes science. Because even science directly, humanity's not a hermaphroditic creature like frogs that switch their sex. Even when frogs come together, certain frogs are hermaphroditic, there's a male and a female when it comes time to procreate. So if there are two males, it literally changes the sex. It's not two male frogs procreating together. No, it actually changes its sex to female. But since humanity's not like that, if we were to stick with just the science, trust the science like people like to say, you would have to stick with whatever your gender, what is XXXY? You'd have to stick with whatever it says. But when we have no God complex, see how this supersedes. This is prevalent in this. It supersedes science. You can decide whatever you want to be regardless. See, this atheism evolution supersedes science. If you haven't noticed, it supersedes. We can decide what we're going to be or whatever. And how many ribs does a person have? What organs are they born with? If I remember correctly, women have a different number of ribs when they're born than males. So 2,000 years from now, if Jesus tarries his coming, and some aliens land on the planet and excavate somebody's bones, because that's all left is bones. When they listen, all that's left is bones. And so they excavate it and look at it and count the ribs or whatever. Look at the DNA. The DNA is going to say a specific gender. And it's not going to say what the person said they were because there's nothing else, regardless of surgery or anything. This is trust the science. People, see, they use trust the science because without God, you can use trust the science when it works for you. You can't use it. You don't use it. You choose not to use it when it doesn't work for you. Jesus himself said the same. God made them male and female. So you can't use Jesus and bring him into the gender issue. He said in the beginning. So God made male and female. So if in the world we create ourselves with the no God complex, we can make the final decision of what we want to be. You can be what you want to be. The Tower of Babel. We are going to stay together instead of filling out the earth like we were supposed to. You can leap and become whatever you want to. You become the master of your universe, and everyone else, they're your subjects. This is how the Christianity sees the no God complex. The no God complex becomes a me, total centered society. It is me. I am doing what I want to do. You have to agree, not only agree, but praise me and agree with me 100%. You have to agree with what I decide. If I decide, I'm like, Pastor said, if I decide, he said this yesterday, if I decide to be an automobile, you have to call me an automobile, treat me like an automobile. But that's nonsense because that's not how the universe works. The universe does not treat you the way you choose to decide. Gravity does not work for you, because you decide it's going to work or not decide it's going to work. So everybody else has to agree 100% with what I say. There is no was, but God respected Adam and Eve. God respected Sodom and Gomorrah. God respected Nineveh. He respected the choice that Pharaoh made when he went to come out. God gives man. He made man his image. So God does respect that, just like parents respect their kids if they want to sneak outside or go somewhere they're not supposed to go. This is the very opposite of society. See, this is breaking down society, individualizing, separating people. male and female, are still required to have a child, regardless of if they adopt. There is biological connection of a male and a female, period. Regardless of what you want to say. And in the end, the child's going to discover, regardless of all the stuff, that it still requires a male and a female. But see, this is the opposite of society when you become the master of your universe. You have to... You have to like my videos and subscribe. You have no choice. You have to vote for me because I'm the only person on the ballot. I'm going to twist and manipulate, and then I'm going to lie to the world and the general public and say that we did everything 100% fair and everybody else is lying. We use propaganda because you have to agree with me. This is how God sees. This is a Christian take on evolution. Why when you talk about evolution to a Christian, when you talk about atheism to a Christian, it's not just some trivial science thing. Because we have enough people, they said, what is that, enough tests and trials, what do they call it when the people, enough studies have been made about everything and people pick and choose what they want to believe. The concept of a humble person, I learned this from Reverend Frederick C. Price. You have to find out what the truth is, and a humble person finds out what it is and adjusts itself to it. I guarantee you this, if Christians were to legitimately find out that there was no God, specifically, we're not talking about this made up pseudoscience nonsense. If we were to discover that there is no heaven, there is no hell. This is in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. It said we're above all men most miserable if there is no resurrection. I guarantee that most Christians, if they found out there was no God, they would repent and recant. That is the main difference between someone in humility and someone in pride. Someone in humility will apologize to their child for being wrong. Someone in pride won't. A humble person, they will look and find out if there is a God. If you want to know if there's a God, ask God, does he exist? This is not a problem. Ask him. God, if you exist, prove it. Jesus, if you're real, prove it. It goes back to what the man said. Some people, if they found out God existed, would still not believe in him. Which is interesting because there is a book in the Bible that talks about somebody who knows God exists, and he has a rage against God. There is another part in the Bible that talks about another group of people that they know that God exists and they just don't care. But we do care about you, and the next video, when we do it, I'll talk about Animal Zero, the god of atheism. Love y'all, live and be.